Hello, Jets fans, and welcome to the latest episode of Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest on the New York Jets. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Glad to have you on this beautiful day. If you're joining us after the live stream, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to take us in your pocket, you always can. Wherever podcasts are streaming, you can listen to the latest episode of Rich Sports Talk. So, a little disclosure here for the channel. Now, again, I usually go live after every single Jets game, including the preseason, and I usually go on Mondays. But this weekend was a little bit different. Was celebrating my dad's 75th birthday. So, again, happy birthday to my dad. So, a little shout out to him, but also explanation about why this video might seem just a little bit late. But I wanted to go through stock up, stock down. Now, again, some precursors to this list. If you're joining us with the live stream, you can always jump in with your comments at any time. Use that super chat feature to jump to the front of the line, or if you just want to make a donation to the channel. So for this list, I'm looking at Jets stock up and stock down, not only from the game, but generally throughout camp, but also looking at guys that are really on the roster bubble. So again, if it's a key starter who maybe didn't have a great game, like Breece Hall is someone I've seen a couple times on this list, 3 carries for 9 yards. Again, we know Breece is going to be on the roster. I'm looking at guys that are more on the bubble and could potentially not be on the roster or who are going to have interesting roles on this team. So maybe some of the big names will not be on this list. But if you have a stock up or stock down player you want to talk about, make sure to reach out in the comments. But let's start with the positives, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with the stock up after the first preseason game. And our first member of the stock up club is going to be Donovan Edwards. Now, look, Donovan Edwards, I thought looked explosive. Despite having a big run called back due to a hold, he was still efficient. 9 carries, 42 yards, 4.7 yards clip. But you saw that amazing burst that we've seen at Michigan. Here's the thing. For me, Edwards, I think, has a really good shot to make this team because the Jets basically told you what they want to be. In the preseason, I think we look at player performances. Sometimes we get a little bit overhyped. For me, Edwards makes more sense to the culture and what the Jets want to do. And they told you they want to run the ball, and they want to run it a lot. Control the clock, 38 minutes times the possession. So I think Donovan Edwards has a really good shot to make the final 53 because if the Jets are going to run the football this much, you're going to need some bodies in that backfield, especially in that running back room. Edwards is an explosive player. I think he brings a nice element to this team. And I wouldn't be shocked if this is a team that on game day carries 4 running backs, maybe only carries 5 wide receivers. But I think Edwards really has a good shot to make this 53. And again, an impressive early performance. Not necessarily looking at the performance, which I thought was good, but just looking at the identity the Jets want, I think he has a good shot to make it, and that's why his stock is up. Another stock up also in the running game as well is going to be Andrew Beck, the fullback. Of course, some nice catches, 36 yards receiving. He offers some interesting versatility too because I know a big debate is will the Jets carry 4 tight ends? I almost feel like they're going to carry 3 with Beck. Beck also gives them a reliable fullback, which again, not a lot of offenses have. But he's someone that can catch the ball out of the backfield, can be moved around. We saw him especially in the offense in the design play, motioned into the backfield, coming down into the flat to catch a check down pass. Offers a lot of nice versatility and also could maybe be a hybrid tight end in this offense. I really like what he brought to the table, and I think he's a nice option within this offense. Another stock up, and I think this will be a very interesting one. Again, I see the comments coming through. We'll get through it at the list. Super chat to jump to the front of the line, then we'll get to your questions. Arian Smith, now here is a very interesting thing. Now, on paper, he didn't have the biggest game. Quarterback missed him on a wide open route. Arian Smith has been a major talking point throughout camp. But one thing I look for in preseason is how much are they playing you, especially if you're a young guy, a day 3 pick. How much are you playing? Because if you're playing a lot, it tells me the coaching staff wants to get you comfortable out there and wants you to get comfortable with this offense. Here's something you need to know. Arian Smith led the Jets in snaps with 35. The next closest wide receiver had 20. He outsnapped the second most snap receiver by 15 snaps, which tells me this staff has a plan for him, and they expect to use him a lot this season. So keep an eye on Arian Smith, especially as this preseason develops. But let's stay in the wide receiver room as well, as I think Quentin Skinner really had a great performance. Also has had a really good camp. You see the highlights every day of him making some spectacular catches. Now Skinner, undrafted, but 6'5", made the nice basketball catch, the box out catch against the Packers. The thing with Skinner is, could he make Allen Lazard obsolete? That is something I could look at. And one of the things this Jets wide receiver room lacks is size. And maybe even Skinner could be kind of a hybrid tight end in this system. Now, again, not an inline blocker, but if you remember with Quincy Enunwa a couple years ago, that big slot receiver, Skinner could have a role in this team, and he's really impressed me throughout this whole camp. So two players I want to highlight on the defensive side of the ball for stock up before we get to the stock downs. The first one, of course, scored a defensive touchdown. Jay Tufele, 4 pressures, a sack and a half, and recovered the touchdown in the end zone. Look, I think he had a great first debut, some nice good pressures. And look, this defensive tackle room really needs to step up. It was a nice way to see them step up and make a big impact on the game. You obviously need someone to take the pressure off of Quinnen out there. And I did think he looked very good in both the run game and also the pass rush. But another guy who looked great, I thought, was Leonard Taylor. Again, a bit of a quiet camp, but forced the fumble that led to the touchdown. He shows a good internal pass rush. I feel like he is a real X factor. I've talked a lot about him on this channel. I think that you look at the kid when he was coming out initially, he was a highly ranked prospect. There was a chance he could have been a top 50 pick at one point. He's got a lot of potential, and especially in this defensive tackle room where there isn't a lot after Quinnen, this could be a guy that makes a huge impact on this team. And maybe he's not an everyday starter, but maybe he is the guy that comes in pass rushing situations on the inside and creates a mismatch against the guards. Overall, I think Leonard Taylor looked very good and has a big outlook on this season. Now, again, let's get to the stock downs, but we'll get to your questions in a little bit. Super chat to jump to the front of the line. But of course, where there's light, there's dark. So let's get to the stock down. Number one, it's going to be Malachi Corley. Corley has been an interesting player for the Jets, and he's been someone that I thought could have a big role, especially in this offense with the running game being used on jet sweeps, but only 18 snaps. The big thing that really stuck out to me, though, was I felt that for him to really get utilized on this 53 was being the kick returner or punt returner. Only one kick return. It seems like Jamal Pritchett is already getting more reps in the special teams than he is as a return man. Nwangu, of course, the running back, could be another guy. He's had great kick returns as well. So I was hoping to see Corley be utilized. And to be honest, it just feels like they don't have a plan for Corley. Arian Smith got 35 snaps. It looks like they have a plan and a role they want to utilize him. Malachi Corley, not so much. Now, I know a lot of people, if the Jets do move off of him after this training camp, which is a possibility, will be livid. They'll be upset. But here's the thing. You see this all the time with new regimes. Guys that were drafted second, third, fourth round, guys that your fan base gets invested, gets cut because they don't fit the mold of the new team. Malachi Corley really did not help himself last year with last year's coaching staff. If he's not really fitting in with this coaching staff, it might just be addition by subtraction. It's clear to me that in terms of the snaps, like you thought Malachi Corley would get a ton of snaps out there, someone fighting for a bubble spot, but it seems like even the undrafted wide receivers are getting more run out there. So for Malachi Corley, it is not looking good. Up next is Jeremy Ruckert. And Jeremy Ruckert, look, coming into this preseason, I think a lot of Jet fans were hoping he could hold down the number 2 tight end spot, but he might be the number 3 one when we leave. Stone Smart, of course, with a great catch in this game, flashed his receiving ability. Quiet night out of Ruckert. You were kind of hoping that this rapport with Justin Fields could be a saving grace. And look, with Ruckert, at this point, he's got to go out and prove it, and unfortunately, haven't seen a lot of it. And now with Ruckert, I still think he's got talent. I still think that there is still this preseason. But a part of you was hoping that there would be a flash, even with Justin Fields out there for the drive, that he would have a nice catch, there'd be some rapport. It just doesn't seem like it's working. And look, I think Ruckert as a third tight end isn't a bad option, but from where the kid was drafted and where we envisioned him potentially being, it does feel like this might be the beginning of the end as another highly drafted Jet just doesn't fit with this new regime. Now, I have a bit of a surprise here for stock down. I have Allen Lazard. Of course, Lazard injured his shoulder. Looks like he'll be out for at least 2 weeks. The big reason I have the stock down for Lazard is, yes, he looked decent in the running game, but didn't look great catching the football. And with Skinner getting more reps out there, I'm kind of curious, and I've been saying this, and I'll sound like a broken record. I just get this feeling that Alan Lazard's not going to be a Jet. I just get the feeling he's going to end up in Pittsburgh, whether it's at the end of training camp, whether it's early in the season or before the trade deadline. I just don't see him being long-term. Again, you see at practice, he's not really out there getting a lot of the big reps. So I just don't think he's going to be out there. Yes, he'll help in the running downs, but I'm curious, and it seems like the Jets really want to go young on this wide receiver room. Our next stock down is Michael Clemens, everyone's favorite Jet. So it's funny because Clemens actually started off the game pretty well in the run defense, but then, of course, the old demons came back. Disciplined after he threw a punch, was lucky he wasn't ejected. If this wasn't the preseason, probably would have been ejected. Again, it's one of those things where with this team, you want to see the penalties cleaned up with certain players. And with Clemens, that was his big MO, was not only wasn't making a big impact on the field, but also was hurting this team with dumb penalties. So again, I'll give Aaron Glenn a lot of credit. Took Clemens out of the game at that point, but that can't be good for his stock. I do think Clemens, unfortunately, makes the 53 at the start of the season. But I do think he is moving his way down this team's depth chart. And despite the defensive end room being incredibly thin, if this keeps continuing, I just, again, do not see a long-term path for Michael Clemens. And again, not a good look when you're trying to impress a new coaching staff and you get thrown out for throwing a punch in the first preseason game. Our next stock down is going to be Max Mitchell. Now, Mitchell might just make this roster just because he can play both guard and tackle. But you look, when he was out there, I was impressed by some of the undrafted Jets offensive linemen, some of the other backups that they've had. But man, Max Mitchell was bullied, and it wasn't even against like starters for the Packers. Like, these are roster bubble guys who are fighting to make the 53, and he was struggling mightily out there. A part of me wonders, is it just because he's not comfortable at the guard position? Originally was a tackle. It just feels like Max Mitchell has regressed, and unfortunately under that last coaching staff, he regressed. This might be one of those things where he just needs to change the scenery. I'm curious what the Jets do, but I have a feeling that two of the rookie tackles that they drafted in the 4th round, like between Warren and Mitchell, will not be on this team. If I was the Jets, I'd be calling up with Mitchell and Warren. There's been a lot of offensive line injuries throughout this league. Maybe a team will give you a flyer pick to see if it can work. But I would be working the phones because Mitchell did not look good against the Packers. And finally, our last stock down for the New York Jets will be Marcelino McCray-Ball. We'll say it as it is. He had a bad game. Jamin Davis outplayed him, had the 3rd highest PFF of any Jets linebacker, made an impact play with a sack, tackle for a loss in the run game. I feel like he's going to be the 3rd linebacker of this group. And look, we're talking about penalties with the team and accountability. And we talked about Michael Clemens going viral, but also McCray-Ball went viral too. A horrendous penalty where he tackled the guy incredibly late. And unfortunately, he got caught on camera with Aaron Glenn chewing him out. And rightfully so, Aaron Glenn should have chewed him out. But this is a guy that's on the roster bubble, had a chance to maybe even potentially work his way into the starting linebacking room. But unfortunately, it feels like he is going in the wrong direction as well. So those are our stock up and stock down reports for the New York Jets. Before we get into your comments, use that Super Chat feature to jump to the front of the line. And if you want to make sure you don't miss our latest Rich Sports Talk show, hit that like and subscribe button. And you can also check us out wherever podcasts are available. All right. Tony Alexio. Edwards is a good find, making Brees trade interesting. Look, I just don't feel like that's going to happen. And look, I think Edwards is good on special teams as well. Look, Brees had a slow start. I understand Braylon Allen's look good. I know Brees Hall has been talked about. I really don't think. Here's the thing. Can Brees Hall be traded from the Jets? Yes. But here's the problem. You need to get a really good offer. And at this point, no one's going to give you a great offer. Like maybe at the trade deadline, but it's too early to trade a running back. I mean, if Jerry Jones called you up and gave you an insane package for Brees Hall, you listen. But unless that happens, I don't see that. Drone, Smith got to play a big role this year. He has to stretch defense, and he's not getting a lot of catches. And I think that's why they drafted him, Drones. He can stretch the field. He's got that track star speed. You have to keep him in mind. I know he's worked incredibly hard in camp to work up the catching issue. And it also helps Garrett. Garrett Wilson's great at all three levels, but he is incredible in the mid and short game, getting him the ball quickly. And also, if you pull the top off the defense, it allows you to use your running backs more. Like a play design could be you have, let's say, Arian Smith on the outside. You pull that outside corner, but you set up a screen pass. So that's less bodies in front when you're doing the screen pass. And again, you have guys that can catch the screen out of the backfield, Davis, Breece Hall. I think there's a lot of different things. And here's the other thing I really love. The big thing I look for in preseason isn't necessarily the performances. If it's a bad performance, I make a note of it. But I really look for, do you have an identity? And we've seen the Jets, and again, this is their vanilla defense and vanilla offense, but even still, they had more emotion in that Green Bay game in the preseason than I think they ever did last year with Aaron Rodgers under center. You saw what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball, and run the football. And sometimes when guys start stacking the box, a guy like Arian Smith, you desire a play-action pass to take a shot down the field. Even if you miss, like Drone says, hey, the defense has got to be honest. Like, hey, we're getting a little too close to the line right now. We got back the corners out a little bit, got back the safeties out of the box, which then opens up the run games. Great question, Audition. I think he will be one. If he's not on the 53, they're going to do everything to keep him on the practice squad. A lot of it comes down to the roster construction. Because in my head, if you had to ask me today, I would say the Jets have two quarterbacks, obviously. They could do 4 running backs, and you do the back as a fullback and 3 tight ends and 5 receivers. Could they maybe suit up 6 receivers? Sure. I think they'll have 6 on the roster, but they only suit 5 up for game day. But I think he's making a point to make this offense. And here's the other thing with Edwards. I wouldn't risk him on the practice squad with another team picking him up, especially if he flashes. Running backs are always tricky in the NFL, but you're also one big injury away from him being a key piece in this offense, especially in the running back room. So especially if you want to be a possession team, I would highly consider that, especially if you're going to be a run and ground and pound football team. I hope Brandon Smith makes the team. He caught everything last preseason like Butterfinger, Lazard, and Gibson. Look, I'll tell you, Brandon Smith is pushing for this team. Look, Xavier Gibson and Lazard. Xavier Gibson, I think, someone that's not going to make this team. I just get the feeling he's not. I think Malachi Corley wouldn't shock me if he doesn't make this team. Lazard almost feels like default he's going to make the team. The big thing I'm curious is what happens in Pittsburgh. Because, like, I've said this so many times on this channel. I really believe in my heart of hearts, Allen Lazard will end the season at Pittsburgh. He might not be trading the preseason. He might not be trading the first few weeks, but I just get this feeling he's going to be with the Steelers at some point this season. It's wonderful to see offense was alive last night. O-line play. Well, look, I love the O-line play. I talked with Dom C about this. We'll have to get him on the show. It's curious because I know Myers struggled at the center position. A part of me wonders if the staff has been what I've suggested is, do they view Joe Tippmann as a long-term guard, where maybe Tippmann is the center this year, but maybe there's a world where they don't pay AVT or a world where they don't pay John Simpson. And again, I know we don't want either of them to walk, but there could be a world where we see that. I also feel like, too, if it happens that they have a guard injury, I would not be shocked if that's the first option, is not put Myers in at guard. They put Tippmann over at guard, and they put Myers in at center. But overall, I thought the offensive line played very well. I think it's very good that they control the line of scrimmage. And look, the Packers, too, had a lot of their stars out there. They had a lot of their big starters out there on the defensive side. It wasn't like they just phoned it in. So, again, it is the preseason, but it's good to see that the Jets were able to control the outside. I mean, Garrett's got the speed drones, but you're right. They don't really have that true deep threat on the outside as well. If AG reduces Clemens' penalties, he'll be coach of the year. Well, if he doesn't reduce the penalties, I don't think Clemens is going to be on this team too long. I just don't see that as well. All right. How do you feel about Brandon Stevens at the moment? I know a lot of fans were disappointed. I still think it's a little early to tell. What I've seen in practice, he's looked very good. I understand, too, that, again, this is also very vanilla defense right now. But I will say Sauce looked very good. Again, AZ wasn't really out there. I got to see him in real action too. I think sometimes in the preseason, if the guy has a brutal performance, like I don't think Stevens had a bad performance, but if you have a mistake or two in the preseason, I get it. The bigger ones, like Max Mitchell, I think is a better example. Max Mitchell was getting bullied by backups for the Packers. I mean, this wasn't their starting unit. Like he was getting bullied by guys. You're like, are they going to make this team? I don't know. Like, so for me, if it's an okay performance, I think sometimes you get too hyped. Like, oh my God, the guy looks amazing. Like I've seen it all the time now with the young quarterbacks. Oh my God, Shadur looked amazing. Jackson looked amazing. Okay, they also played pretty vanilla defenses in the preseason. I mean, how many times have we been teased in the preseason as Jet fans by Sam Darnold, by Zach Wilson? Like we've gotten the flashes before. You got to see it on the regular tape. The big thing I look for is if you have a really bad performance. I think a good example is Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers looked lost for the Dolphins. He looked absolutely lost out there. Even Zach Wilson looked lost. Like, and again, I just feel like if you look overwhelmed in the preseason, like I look more for alarm bells in the preseason than I do for great performances. Quinn Ewers couldn't complete passes, fumbled the football, and was taking sacks. And we're talking about second, third teamers. Like maybe two of the guys on that field are going to be regular 53 roster guys. And you're still struggling like that. Like that to me is more alarming. Like if we came out and we saw the tackles, our two first round tackles getting, bullied by starting our backup defensive lineman, that would be a concern to me. But for the most part, I'm not concerned about Stevens. Like I'm more concerned about guys like Max Mitchell. That was just, I thought, a bad performance, and he looked uncomfortable. I mean, Jeremy Ruckert, I was hoping to see more because he's had chemistry with the quarterback in Justin Fields, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe this will be the guy that can get him going. Malachi Corley, like, didn't see much, not using him a lot, not using him on special teams. Like, those to me are more concerning to me. Like, I feel like the preseason, again, this might just be me, I just look for more concerning trends. And so far, the Jets, I haven't seen, quote, the concerning guys. Like, I don't see the rookies, for example, looking overwhelmed. If the tackles look overwhelmed, I'd be concerned. If, Arian Smith looked completely lost and didn't know how to run routes, I'd be concerned. Once again, I use the Quinn Ewers example. Like everyone's going goo goo gaga over the rookies doing well and the quarterbacks. But I look at Ewers and the Dolphins and I'm like, good God. Like this is supposed to be the easy part. Vanilla defenses, they're not going to be bringing the house on you. They're not trying to trick you usually in the preseason. And you look that lost out there. Yikes. But again, get your comments and questions in here. Use Super Chat to jump to the front of the line, giving my thoughts on stock up and stock down for Jets players from the first preseason game as well. I thought Jamin Davis played very well for the Jets as well. Sack in this game. I really think he's pushing to be one of the front linebackers on this team. And look, I love the discipline. Like the big thing too is with Aaron Glenn, I feel like he backed up what he said. He said, we are going to be a physical team. We're going to treat this seriously. We're going to go out there and compete. And again, he put the first units out there in the preseason where so many teams now don't even want to do that to almost the third preseason game. I mean, like last 2 years with Rodgers, like it was even with Rodgers take snaps in the preseason. So I give them credit for doing that. I give them credit for talking about being a physical football team. And I give them a lot of credit for how they've handled this. Now, again, some news today, of course, that Tyrod Taylor got work on his knee. Hopeful for week 1, but even still, again, as long as Tyrod, I think, is good by week 2 or 3, that's the big thing. But overall, I mean, Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook, they battled it out. I thought Braylon Allen looked good out there as well. I thought the Jets looked very good running the football, which is, to me, the biggest piece of this team. And look, I think with this team, there's clearly a battle in the wide receiver room. I do think that you're going to see some interesting players, but again, like certain guys that I think are not going to make it. Like if you had to ask me today, for example, would Malachi Corley be on this team? I'm not sure. And look, I think it's good coaching, but it's the attitude seems different. They're holding guys accountable. They're yelling at guys for screwing up. You never saw Salah or Jeff Ulbrich doing that. And look, like Michael Clemens, like I think that to me, if you were to ask, like, what's a moment where Jet fans were saying, okay, Aaron Glenn is different? It's when Michael Clemens does something stupid like that, throws a punch, and you know what he says? You know what? You start off good, but guess what, kid? You're done. You're done for the night. You're on the bench. Robert Saleh maybe would have brought him off for a play or two, and then he would have been right back out there. It's like, okay, slap on the wrist, whatever. Like, Aaron Glenn's like, nope, you're done. That was stupid. Because not only, if this was a regular season, not only would we get a 15-yard penalty, but we'd probably have an ejection, and now we're down a defensive end for 3 quarters. So now we're going to have to play more snaps. People are going to get more tired. People are going to be, more fatigued. We're not going to have as much rotation, and that's because you did something really stupid. Cuts are going to be difficult this year. I think for certain positions, they're definitely going to be Kev. I do agree with that. Yeah, because there's actually motion. There's actually coaching. The offensive line actually looks capable. Like that to me, really, it feels like these coaches are at least not overwhelmed. Like there are times like I felt Saleh and especially the staff on the offensive side for him, felt like they were overwhelmed and just didn't know what to do. And it was almost a paralysis by analysis with them. I hope Cuts work in our favor this year as a better wide receiver 2 than Reynolds. I'm guessing what you mean, Starkey, is from other teams. You never know. I mean, certain guys are off the market. I know Odell Beckham announced his retirement today. Not that the Jets would have had interest in him. Yeah, I'm curious. But let's be frank, there's not going to be like a true wide receiver 2. There might be like a 3 that maybe the Jets are higher on than other people. It's going to be interesting. And part of what makes a good organization at this time of year is your scouts are looking at other camps and you're keeping an eye on what pieces are potentially going to be moving in and out. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and especially the wide receiver room. I know that's definitely going to be someone as well. Damn, Kev, bring the heat. It's a tough one because I think Allen Lazard is still – he has the talent to be a good wide receiver, and he's really good in the run game. I get the feeling, too, that they're going to keep Lazard. But again, I don't think Lazard's a long-term Jet. I really feel he's going to the Steelers at some point. It's like I don't know when, but it's like I have the feeling it's going to happen. And it's going to happen, very quickly, and it's going to be a trade at some point. Yeah, I agree with that, Tony. It does feel like the staff is definitely different. Real time is like autocorrect. You need autocorrect before sending the text. That's a good analogy, Kev. I'll have to remember that one for future reference. But look, I feel like you're very high on the staff after the first game. Again, I don't get too high on the highs from the preseason, but the big thing is you want accountability from the staff, and they're showing accountability. You wanted to see some innovation. You saw that. And the big thing, too, is, they're scheming guys open. They scheme Beck the fullback open for an easy completion. They're scheming guys up. They are putting them in positions to succeed, where it felt, especially last year, because their defense and their offense was so basic. It's like, okay, not only are we not going to scheme you open, it's your responsibility to beat your guy, make the play. Like, we're not going to help you. You got to basically get open on your own accord. Here's the play, beat the guy. And it felt like the Jets at times didn't have the personnel to do that. And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why the Jets had such a horrendous season last year. But again, final time to get in your questions for today. Again, you can check us out wherever podcasts are available. Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. Again, we'll be here after every game this year, breaking down all the action from Jets. I'll try to get on for the preseason game this week to give you my analysis on that. I'm curious to see what the Jets do. I get the feeling Fields is going to start again. Maybe gets 2 series. Depends on how the first series goes. Like if it's another 10, 12 play series, maybe that's it. I expect more of the defense to play as well. Probably not Quinnen. I think the Jets are going to try to do their best to protect Quinnen as well throughout the season, guys that are a little bit nicked up. But I'm very curious to see what the Jets end up doing for their second preseason game. But either way, even if we don't come on right after that game, we'll give you a breakdown on how the Jets are standing. Basically, do kind of what we're doing today, guys, whose stock is up, down, and how the final 53 can be potentially seen. So again, let's get some comments. Can we trade Brees when a team loses a running back? It's got to be the right price. Again, it's not just Madden. If a team gives you like a first round pick and something, sure. If they give you 2 and a good receiver, maybe sure. But I'm not just giving away Brees Hall for peanuts. Like, I need something substantial for him if I'm going to pull the trigger on trading Brees Hall. And again, I still think Brees Hall is going to be dynamic. I think they're going to use him a lot as a wide receiver in this offense. I think you're going to see him get more targets as a wide receiver potentially than him get touches as a running back. Again, the preseason right now, they're not showing their hand of what they're going to do, but I could see that clearly being an option. Like I said, I could see where they carry five receivers, 4 running backs, but Hall is viewed as a half receiver, half running back. So he's almost like the 6th wide receiver in that depth chart room. But again, we'll have to see. Overall, I think Jet fans feeling pretty positive after preseason game number 1. Certain players are going in the right direction. Other players, well, they'll have to ball out in week 2 to hopefully go out there and play. I do think that the defensive tackle depth will also be tested. They showed some nice flashes in that first preseason game. Can they continue to build off of that? Or will the Jets potentially be in the defensive tackle market in the future? All that and much more coming up on future Rich Sports Talks episodes. So make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss our latest episodes. You can check us out wherever podcasts are available: Spotify, TuneIn, SoundCloud. If you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to Rich Sports Talk. And again, even if you're joining us after the live stream, make sure to like and subscribe so we can get this out to as many Jet fans with the YouTube algorithm, especially as we get close to the 2025 season. And if you have any questions you have for me and you want to be featured in the next episode, comment after the video. And if it's a great question, I will make sure to bring it up for you. Again, guys, preseason game 1 is in the books, and we're getting ready for preseason game number 2, as well as the Jets 2025 season here on Rich Sports Talk, where we will see you next time.